And we are live with another episode of the Keeg Talks. This is the Keeg Talks Blue Beetle, the movie.
No!
And we did do an episode a couple episodes back about Jaime Reyes as a character. Actors and writers were on strike. They are no longer on strike. And so think of this as like, a recap kind of episode. It's been a couple months since Blue Beetle has come out. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. If you could see us live, you can watch us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show, youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or you listen to the podcast wherever you get podcasts, and then you can't see who our guests are. It's the same guests as a couple episodes ago when we were talking about Jaime Reyes as a character. Let me introduce Blue Beetle's bug herself, Michelle, who is now
Hi.
Blue Beetle's bug, but when you were on the Jaime episode...
I changed my name. Listen, I was like, this is partially I blame Ben.
Don't dead name her.
But like blame Ben, positive, like affirmatory and not derogatory. But I was like, let me take my name out of this. Like, y'all don't have to know me. Like, you know me by my guy.
Yeah, but now you actually have a username to back it up. And you didn't before.
Yep.
And I changed your display. So anyone who's watching us live, you are officially Blue Beetle's bug.
Oh, okay. We love.
So, we also got to introduce BT Artist 98, Ben Torres.
I've come back from my a little bit of a hiatus. I had a lot going on. In short, I had a lot going on. I still have a lot going on, and I will still continue to have a lot going on, but I'm back! I'm here!
You are.
Hopefully my internet keeps me here, actually.
I'm hoping it does, too. I'm hoping.
Because I feel like last time Dimitri's internet went out, and we just sat and talked for a good 30, 40 minutes. Just about stuff.
We were just chit-chatting. We were just chit-chatting.
Good at this. No, because I was like, wait, she's good at the social media thing. Hold on, wait. Put her on, coach. Put her on.
No. I actually got drafted to the TikTok lifestyle by these two. So there we go.
I'm glad
maybe
you're on it.
More videos coming. Every time I record myself, I'm like, I hear my own voice and I'm like, oh, let me just hit delete.
I feel like
but we'll see.
Both you guys do really good work. Ben is in the unhinged corner of content creation, and Michelle is in the super hinged corner.
Oh my god!
The research Michelle does. The research.
I can't argue with you because the video that's doing well right now.
Is he?
He's frozen. He'll be back. He'll be back.
About the Terry Joe audio. That's... Well, I knew what happened. I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen. Always happens to me. But what I was saying was, I can't even argue.
We'll take a shot every time it happens.
I have Dr. Pepper, so anytime it happens, I'll just drink my little Dr. Pepper. Not spawn.
So,
wait. Hopefully they're not Hold on. Let me shut up.
Ben. So let's since this is a more concise episode, a couple months have passed since the movie has come out, and I feel bad because this movie was so important, and it happened when the strike happened, and people just about it. Did you guys feel like it was tough in that respect? It's more like tough beans sort of situation. Obviously the strike had to happen, but also the fact is I felt like this movie was so important to the culture, and it just kind of sucked that no one could talk about it.
It did, and then it really sucked that while I was personally just going through it, then I wanted to talk about Blue Beetle, and it was Hispanic Heritage Month. The execs were like, but what if we drag this out longer? Actually, no, because here's the team. Here's the team. I don't understand why a lot of influencers decided to say screw it and talk about stuff, because no matter what, they're still messing with your bag too. This strike is for your bag too, right? So I didn't talk about it and I didn't say anything, but I'm just thinking, can they pay these people so they can promote their hard work? Because you have a bunch of people who worked on this really fun, really energetic movie, and they just couldn't promote or talk about it because the people who they made the movie for didn't want to pay them what they were due. This movie is coming to streaming. I think it's either on streaming or it's coming to streaming soon. On streaming.
It's on as of Friday. HBO
beautiful. Had the strike not happened, they would not have gotten any residuals from this streaming. So let's thank the strike because they deserve those residuals because this was a good movie.
Yeah. For both of you, how many times have you watched this movie? Because it's been a couple months. How many times have you watched this movie? Whether it's in theaters, on streaming, or on whatnot. Me personally, I've seen it twice. Nothing crazy. I don't overwatch movies. I try not to. I have to leave some time. So right now, I'm I can rewatch movies. I just have to keep enough time that I kind of forget about the little things, and then it's a little bit fresher. I've seen it twice. I saw it twice in theaters. I saw it once with Michelle, and then I saw it the second time with my mom. And I wanted to take my mom to go see it. And my mom just thought it was, she liked it a lot. She liked the family stuff, but she was like, it's really loud. And there's a lot of explosions and stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's an action movie, yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna flip your narrative from earlier when you said hinged and unhinged. I'm gonna give you a hinged answer. I've only seen it once in theaters. And it was
I'm
really
about to be unhinged,
the Kajida, even though I named mine Khadijah, from Living Single, because we love Queen Latifah.
You've been calling it Khadijah? As you read the comments?
Well, no, he just named his one.
Do you want the honest answer, or do you want the honest answer?
Yes.
I know it's Kajida. I've been reading it as Khadijah on purpose, though, because I'm like, this is Queen Latifah. This is Queen Latifah in her hit role from Living Single in the 90s. So
it's her voice you're picturing?
Yes.
Okay.
UNITY!
In the movie, it's voiced by Becky G.
Yes.
What?
With it's Becky G's voice, but they did edit it to have that, Siri robotic sounding thing. But she did great. Love her. She did great. Love her music.
Wait, why
She's
is
such
she
a cute little girl.
She's in 2 underrated superhero movies, Power Rangers and this.
No, she's a queen. We love her. We stan.
Yeah.
No, and she was out here prior to when she was hired for the movie. She was hired actually a while back. From what I saw online, she was hired a year plus prior to it being announced that she was in the film. I will give you the unhinged answer. So
Unhinged
Ben
answer.
has his little Kajida. So here's my since our comic talk, I moved for grad school. So this is my little grad school apartment. So I don't have all of my Beetle stuff with me. What I do have is my little Beetle plushie. He was a collab with Build-A-Bear. It's just the little outfit. This is just a regular Build-A-Bear otherwise. But he's great, super soft. He will be in the background for the rest of this. Okay, I obviously huge fan. No, he's gonna fall. Obviously huge fan. I saw the movie in theaters 5 times. I am a rewatcher. I will rewatch things until I die. I have a list of movies that I continuously rewatch at least once a month. Blue Beetle is now on that list. The other 2 include the Batman, Lego Batman, amongst superhero films. Otherwise, it's just Casablanca because I can rewatch the shit out of that any time of day, any day.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to interject. 3 best theatrical Batman movies are, to me, Lego Batman, The Batman, and Mask of the Phantasm. But that's just me.
That's valid. I'm gonna be real. I do like Batman and Robin because I enjoy camp and I think it was funny. And I think people are haters and they hate having fun. I think it's a fun little watch. I don't think it was accurate at all. I think it's a fun little watch. It's fun to just haha hee hee sometimes, and that's exactly what that film is for. Ben is nodding. Ben gets me. He gets me.
I get it. I'm just saying it's not.
I get it.
Top 3 best theatrically released Batman movies.
To sidebar on Batman and Robin. Just sidebar on it. it's almost camp because half of it is like a medical drama with Alfred like dying. And like
that
really...
like random plot line, like
yeah,
why was
like
that
that's like
we can't.
Why did we try to be serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
To sidebar, to end this sidebar real quick, like the fact that was Barbara and Bruce's story, it's so funny, but whatever.
So okay, so Michelle was saying she's watched it 5 times in theaters.
I saw it 5 times in theaters. Before it came out to streaming to HBO Max, which has since been renamed Max, but I will be calling it HBO Max until I die. It was available to purchase on Amazon Prime as well as for streaming or for just watching virtually. I don't think it would be streaming if I bought it, but right. It was also available for hard copy DVD purchase. I don't own a DVD player, so I didn't buy it. I know I have a friend who doesn't own a DVD player, and she bought it anyways. So real, but I didn't do that. Again, I don't even have a TV here. Like, there's no point. I don't have a DVD player on those computers either. And then I saw it once via Amazon through buying the video because my dad really wanted to watch it because I didn't have a chance to watch it with him when he helped me move in here. But I kept telling him I really loved the movie, and obviously I'm Mexican, he's Mexican. I was like, you need to watch this, you need to watch this, you need to watch this. So we bought it on like the family account and then watched it once there. And then since it has come to streaming on Friday, I haven't had the chance to watch it because I'm in final season. But you best believe when I'm on my plane back home, it will be downloaded and streamed on the plane.
Okay. All right. So we've all seen it roughly the same amount of times. Is that what you're saying? Like, no, I'm just joking. Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle's seen it so many times more than us.
Whatever is it? I don't know. My 1 to her 506. Like,
no, it's that meme of like Brie Larson where she's like, this guy saw Captain Marvel 81 times. Or something like that. Have y'all seen that?
I haven't seen that.
Beetle.
Where is he for the Marvels? Let me not. Because I want to see it. I want to see that. Let me not.
So, I don't know if your guys' grading scale has gotten better for the Blue Beetle movie since you saw it like a couple months ago. Thinking about it, not thinking about it, whatever. Out of 10, what would you guys rate it? Out of 10.
Let me go to my letterbox. So I'm consistent.
Are we? You're pulling up the letterbox.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes. I mean, your feelings change though. Your feelings.
No, I feel the same. And every time, this is on my chair, so every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah. I think, yeah. I said on Letterboxd 4 to 5, so 8 out of 10. That sounds about right. That's an 8 out of 10. Really, really enjoyable. It's kind of low key. It had like a marketing budget that wasn't a hop, skip, and a wish.
It wasn't like a glue, like a single shoestring. Like...
I think it would have hit big. I think it would have
hit big. Yeah, because it's. I also feel like if it was released maybe 4 or 5 years earlier, where we're not in this, when we weren't in the like blockbuster year to end all blockbuster years, because why did certain movies that should have been like $700, $800, $1 billion movies like flop? Because they released 805 movies at the same time.
Okay, I do agree with that. I wouldn't go as far back as saying releasing it 4 to 5 years ago, because I think like a lot of the Sony Spider movies like harken to early 2000s. But I would say that like even if Blue Beetle was released last year or next year, it would have been better.
Okay,
this year was
I'm gonna be so
really
real. I'll be so real, and I'm saying this as a DC girly, like my little Kevin Maguire print up there, my Superman print in the back, my literal Beetle mirror. Okay. The fault was not only marketing. The fault was not only the superhero fatigue for everyone, for every genre, for every like Sony, Marvel, DC in the theaters. DC's movie rep is in the toilet. Listen, I'm gonna be so real. I say this as the Blue Beetle super fan I am.
Yeah.
I say this as the Blue Beetle super fan I am. I was talking to people in my life, and I was like, hey, like let's go see the movie. Like I feel like you would really like it. And my friends and I were like, look, we're only seeing it because of you. And they came out and they loved it. I was like, this is the issue with why the DC brand rep is in the toilet and why we just need like a little restart. I am hoping that after, and knock on wood, everyone, that after Superman Legacy is good, that fingers crossed, that people will be like, oh, you should watch Blue Beetle, and it will become a cult favorite, like a cult classic. Listen,
Yeah.
and one of the main criticisms I've seen for this movie is, well, actually, I'll get into that in a second. I'm sorry. For the marketing budget, I want to say, okay, so I lived in Los Angeles, and big Mexican American population, huge Mexican American population. I did see, and also like home of Warner Brothers Studios. So all around Burbank, where Warner Brothers Studios is located, there are advertising signs for that, but I'm told they only put that up pretty much near Burbank, like DC stuff, because like the actors will drive around there and like take pictures there. So that makes sense. In other parts of Los Angeles, however, I did still see marketing posters. That being said, Los Angeles, Hollywood, like we get it. The crazier part to me was that literally like a few weeks before the movie, I had gone on vacation to visit my family in Mexico City. Mind you, Jaime, first live action Mexican American hero. I didn't see a single ad. I went to a comic book store in Mexico City. I went to the #1 rated comic book store in Mexico City. It has a crazy amount of Google reviews. I have a review of the store on my Instagram if you're curious. It's not that serious if you don't want to see it, but there are some cool pictures of what it looks like. I always love seeing what shops look like, especially in other countries. Now I speak Spanish. So I came in there, I came in with my dad, and I was just browsing through the collection. They did have, Blue Beetle Graduation Day comics. They had them out in their section. It wasn't like specially advertised. They didn't have any sort of posters or adverts for Beetle. Now, I was just like, feeling the vibes. I went and I got like a booster figurine. I don't know if I even posted that online, but went to the cashier to check out. And I'm talking to this woman where, we're chit-chatting. I'm like, oh, how's your day? How's your day? I was like, oh, like I'm from the US. I'm from Los Angeles. Like our comic book stores don't look like this. This place was huge. I was like, your shop is so cool. It's really organized really well. Are you excited for the Blue Beetle movie? And I shut up. I was like, let me see what she says. She didn't know it was coming out in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That was insane to me. The main comic store on Google reviews in Mexico City for a Mexican American live action hero.
Right.
That was like, I fully blame marketing budget. I fully blame also DC brand rep. But that was, I think, the reason why the movie was mainly flopping. I did see for like actual like movie like film critics who are like paid that one of the biggest critiques of the movie was that it followed, the standard superhero plot origin. Of course, this will contain spoilers, so I don't know if you haven't seen
this whole episode is going to contain.
Yeah. But and I did put a lot of thought into this because I was like, okay, I can't just be a fan. Like if there is critique, we have to be able to critique, like and I was like, okay, at this point I feel like there's been every superhero origin story, like they're all vaguely similar. They all follow like generic, like the hero's journey, psychological or whatever that's called, like the cultural plot that was created by that guy.
Yeah, hero's journey
ages ago.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was just like an unfair criticism. I also feel like it was one of those terms. So I know there's a term for it for women, and people have been applying it to the Marvels, where they were saying that, like, for example, with the Marvels, that they set it up that like it's all like a women cast. So like if the movie failed, people would be like, oh, well, it's because no one wants to see women superheroes. I think part of the drop date, like DC spent a lot of money marketing The Flash. Regardless of your feelings of the movie, regardless of your thoughts of the movie, they spent a lot of money marketing The Flash. That was even in like the Super Bowl trailers. I think they didn't really want to do Beetle. I don't really know what pushed them to do it.
The movie at all?
To release it to anything, because I mean they had the whole thing with Batgirl, which was obviously horrible, and they should still release it on HBO Max at the bare minimum for artistic purposes. Like that was ridiculous. I'm glad they released Beetle. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, but I mean, at this point, like you have to ask, like, and I say this like as a huge DC fan, it's like, do they enjoy shooting themselves in the foot almost? Like if you don't market your movie, how are people who are not fans, like just casual audiences, going to be able to know that even your movie is coming out? Like let alone have an opinion, like even know that the movie is out to see.
So I'm
like maybe someone's curious, they're like, let me go see it.
I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna say that like I was like wondering, because this year's been a long year. what Warner Brothers movies came out that were bigger than Blue Beetle? Like, what would they have paid their marketing budget for, right?
Oh,
Like,
Barbie.
Barbie was huge. I mean, even Creed 3, even Shazam 2, like, had a bigger marketing budget than Blue Beetle, right? But, like, Evil Dead Rise, maybe? I don't know if that... But The Flash definitely did. Barbie definitely did. Meg 2, The Trench, right? Like, Meg 2, The Trench had a huge
That was
like, you know, Blue Beetle didn't really, but like, and then the horror movies that like Warner Brothers has, The Nun 2, whatever, Wonka, and
towards the end, after they had money from Barbie's massive success, which it deserved the success, of course,
Yeah.
no slander to Barbie.
Yeah.
They did have more marketing for Beetle, like right before, like literally like the week it was coming out, which obviously wouldn't have been far enough in advance. They had that promotion in Philly at the Museum of Art over there.
Yeah.
In El Paso, I know they hired local artists to, you know, commission that painting outside that mural outside of I believe it was the movie theater. I had a friend send me photos of that. I thought that was beautiful.
But that's small, right? Isn't that like?
But those are small, and it
is
is generally like for the fans. Like if I was not a fan, I would not have seen it. It's literally just local to that city.
Yeah.
I think the flaw is within marketing within DC stuff. Anyways, regardless, the bottom line is the movie was super, super fun.
I liked it a lot.
I say this as a Beetle fan. Listen, I do obviously like comic purists, but that being said, you know, obviously they changed some things for the movie. Like, duh, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But they kept the spirit of Beetle and of Jaime and Ted like so well.
Yeah.
That it was one of those like, oh my gosh, like Beetle.
Yeah.
And like all of my friends who watched it came out, they were like, the blue fucking Beetle. Like everyone was Beetleified after. They were like, this is so great, Michelle. Like, we're so happy you took us. I'm like, yes, like you get it.
I feel like
so it's just sad that DC didn't market.
Yeah. I feel like most people who saw it liked it. I'm just going to refer to my Instagram story that I had posted just to get a quick poll, you know? I just want to throw this out. I asked people, have you seen the movie yet? And it's been a couple months. Have you seen the movie yet? 82% of people said, I've seen it. 18% of people say, I will see it on streaming now that it's out, right? But then, like, the grades, roughly, what people were grading is, like, 47% said it was an A, 47% people said it was a B, and then 7% said it was a C. Nobody said it was a D or an F. At least not yet, right? And so, like, and I put a stipulation: only vote if you have seen the movie. Don't be voting if you saw 5 minutes of it.
Yeah, we trust everyone is honest.
Like, you know, and then there's obviously going to be people who didn't vote at all. Understandable, right? But the people who did vote, you know, but like I think I would have given it like a 9. I like 9 out of 10 would have been my things. There was like some things that I would have done differently, very small things, but like an A- is a relatively good score, you know?
Yeah. There were things that I
everything that you guys have said is why I said 4 to 5 years ago, because that was a little bit after, let me push it, 6 years ago, because that was right before Justice League for DC, which was the reputation destroyer. That was the reputation destroyer.
You don't think it was bad? Okay, no, I'm not even going to answer this, but I think it was Batman versus Superman.
Wait. Definitely hold on. Let me. Hold on. Okay,
actually, let me be actual real.
This is why.
It was Man of Steel.
This is why.
No,
this is why.
People
let me
generally
say this is
positive
why.
reviews of Man of Steel.
Suicide
Let me explain.
Suicide Squad killed.
Let me explain. Let me explain.
I'm gonna.
Let me explain.
I'm afraid your internet's gonna cut out, so I'm gonna let you explain.
Yeah, let me explain. Batman vs Superman was strike 1. Okay. Suicide Squad was strike 2. Wonder Woman was a home run.
Yeah.
Right? And then Justice League, strike 3. We're out.
You're about to get haters in your comments.
Aquaman was a fluke. Okay, Aquaman was a fluke fully. And you wanna know why?
I think people like it because of the CG.
I think Jason Momoa is charismatic.
Okay, Jason Momoa can't. Baby, Jason
I
Momoa
literally
can't sell
think
a
it was
movie.
CG because my dad is general audiences. He's
Mm-hmm.
obsessed with anything that has really pretty CG. My dad will watch
Mm-hmm.
anything with pretty CG multiple times in theaters. I think there's a lot of people in like general audiences who are like him. He literally knew nothing about Aquaman. I watched the hell out of that movie with my dad because he was so obsessed with watching the CGI. He loved that shit. And he ate that shit up. And a lot of
Literally.
especially international audiences eat it up. So that's
Yeah.
why it was good. That's why it got money.
And that's why it was a fluke. Just like how Venom 1 flopped. Flopped here.
Venom 1 8. I'm sorry, 8.
Venom 1 Venom 1 flopped
okay,
here. Domestically flopped in China. When China's market actually still mattered to movies, because now they're like, we're not letting y'all's movies go. And when we do, we ain't gonna see it because we don't care. Like that's why certain big studios have to stop kind of catering to China's market because they like stopped showing up for our movies, which I don't, it's whatever, they have their own stuff. But when China's market.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Ben, we've lost you. Okay.
We'll see if he hops in. So
I will interject with things about the movie that I think people necessarily did not know if they were not within Spanish-speaking Mexican-American communities or grew up with like Mexican-American culture that they might have missed just as like little things.
Yeah.
First of all, Spanish, just like English, has many dialects. This was Mexican dialect. And that was, I mean, I don't want to say that was rare in some movies, but like some movies, even when they're speaking Spanish, a language which I speak, not just accent wise, there are difficulties for me to understand, but slang wise, sometimes there just, it doesn't translate. But the writing, oh, okay. He'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah.
He'll be back. Fingers crossed. Slang wise, the writing was fantastic. Like it was spot on. I felt like someone was like viewing me talking to my cousins, and like the writing was phenomenal. Okay. Okay, Ben's back. Okay. The other thing, so writing like the Spanish actual was great. We'll be back to you in a second. The other thing that I think so Angel Soto mentioned it in one of his videos, or sorry, one of his interviews. I definitely don't remember which one, so sorry about this. But there's a very specific subgenre of, and Guillermo del Toro is also famous for this, but basically there's a very specific fictional subgenre that is in Latin America. The translation of it in English is magical realism, that translated well to the film. Like, yes, there is like, we switched from like Dan Garrett's original origin of Kajida being like a magical scarab from, Egypt, to having like alien roots with the Reach, although that was obviously not explored in the movie. That is like current continuity in canon. He'll be back. It's okay. I'm just gonna roll past it. Even though we have moved past that, there were still elements of magical realism in the film, especially in the scene where Jaime meets his father in like I would hesitate to call it the afterlife, maybe like the middle ground.
Yeah.
That was filmed beautifully.
Bawling.
I was so, honestly, I was so on edge from the scene. It was almost like a scene of relief seeing him again. Like I knew he was dead. Like I knew he was gone.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I was just waiting for him to like just give his son a hug. I was just like, oh my gosh, like it was so emotional. It was so well written. The actors ate, like it was great.
Yeah.
So that was that. I'm trying to think what else. They did have cultural references throughout the film. Different kinds of foods, different kinds of like little posters in the background.
Yeah.
And then I did like the tie-ins with, in general, how the United States has treated Latin America in different like political aspects in the past. So all of those things were great, and they were little tidbits, specifically for the Mexican dialect Spanish, which like I don't know if people were commenting on that, but like as a Mexican, like wow, like they ate with that.
I mean, it was super important to the director, right? As like we heard him speak when he was talking about the movie, and that like it was super important for him to bring something authentic to it. I don't know if Ben is still with us, but
we'll just he's here in spirit.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, and I was hoping that Ben would be here for this, but basically, okay, cool. Is that like I don't think this movie could have been made authentically 5 years ago. And that's not because of
I
Angel. That's because of the
yeah,
studios. That's because of
the
producers.
studios
It
kind of
would have been
meddling.
Blue Beetle directed by Ron Howard, you know?
Yeah. And it would have been less cultural.
Yeah.
I think studios now are, especially after the great success that it definitely deserved of like Black Panther 1, and then they're like, okay, well, audiences do enjoy like seeing like actual representation of their people. Now, obviously, Wakanda is not a genuine culture; it's a
Right.
fictional society, and so on
Right.
and so forth. And Blue Beetle represents like Mexican American culture specifically. I know that like one of the oh, okay,
It's
okay,
cool. Yeah.
he's coming back.
We'll
He'll be
worry
over
about
there.
Ben when Ben comes back.
We'll be back. Yeah. Um, like I said, I know some of the major critiques of the movie was one, it was like a standard origin story, and I was just like, okay, so it followed the hero's journey. That
Yeah.
felt like a
I
stupid
didn't think it
critique to
was a
put there.
standard
I'm not even
origin
gonna
story.
lie. I honestly, I thought it felt fresh, especially with his family being
The
involved
family makes
from
all
the
the
get-go.
difference. Yeah.
And I think it was, and that was actually one of the, even with like, we're back. Even with like movie criticisms that I read,
Ben
that,
is
like,
on
really,
mute, by the way. Ben, you're on mute.
Oh, everybody on mute.
even on like film criticisms of the movie that went in was that they were praising the family. And
Yes.
I really, really love that family aspect, because I feel like in a lot of Latino households, like the family is like such a huge thing, such a huge focus. I know it's like that in my household. So I really enjoyed that. Oh, hey, okay. Okay. With the background. So I really enjoyed that. Family was so well. The one, if I had to like do like a little now, okay, so I didn't love Victoria Cord,
Susan
and
Sarandon?
I was
Okay.
very afraid of Jenny before watching the movie.
Yeah.
Now, my side note to this is that my favorite character, while it is Blue Beetle, my number one favorite character of all time is Blue Beetle Ted Cord. Okay.
Yes.
So I was so afraid that they were going to destroy Ted's reputation and slander my guy's name to the general audience, because general audiences doesn't know who the fuck Ted Cord is. Like,
Then
I don't know. Like, there was some random people who were like, Jaime is not the Blue Beetle, it's Ted. And all the Ted fans were like, shut up. No, he's not. Like, his whole thing was he's always wanted to retire. Like, don't speak on Ted. Don't ever speak on Ted. But I was so afraid of Jenny and Victoria because they're completely new. They're OCs. They are now in DC comic canon. They were introduced into the comic canon through Blue Beetle Graduation Day 2022, I believe, was the first issue, if not late 2021, with Josh Trujillo, who is currently writing the current one, which is Blue Beetle Scarab War. So go read that.
Yeah.
Great.
Is Jenny in the comics right now? No, right?
So
she's from the block. Sorry.
I'm trying to think. No, she is not in the comics.
Okay.
So there's been like thoughts of like, are they introducing her? Like, what's going on? To be honest, when they said, so the actress, Bruna, she is ethnically Brazilian, and so she's not Mexican American like the rest of the cast members of like Jaime and his family, who are obviously all Mexican American. When they were saying that, so they made Ted like a white American, and when they said that Jenny, obviously she kept Bruna, the actress, she kept her ethnicity in the film, she remains Brazilian. My soul stopped, my heart stopped, my soul stopped. The fear in my soul that they were going to say that Bea was Ted's wife and that Jenny was their daughter, the fear was insanity. Dimithri was with me in the theater. I think he must have seen me freeze because I just about had a heart attack. And then they showed like a little photo and I was like, it didn't look like her, so I don't think it's her. But I just about had a heart attack in that theater. I was so afraid. The one nitpicky thing, and this is only as a Ted fan, was that Jenny was talking about her mom to Jaime in that scene at Ted's abandoned mansion. Where she was saying that like, oh yeah, like my mom inspired him to be the Blue Beetle. And I was like, obviously the mom never existed in canon. But I was just like, interesting choice. That being said, I know that Blue Beetle, like Ted's Blue Beetle run in 1986 was one of the runs that was recommended by DC, and one of the runs that both Angel and then I believe Garrett, who is the writer of the movie, recommended and that they read prior to making the movie. And I did feel like the rest of Ted's characterization was spot on.
Yeah.
I loved the mansion. I literally have freeze frames screenshotting of every part of that home and lair, the Beetle cave, so that I could find little what is it called? Like Easter eggs. So I could find Easter eggs.
Can I throw out a crazy
my last
crazy
thing
theory?
before? I'm so sorry. My last thing before I come back. My issues with Victoria Court. So I believe the actress is Susan Sheridan.
Susan
I believe
Sarandon.
that's her name. So okay, I'll call her Susan. I'll call her Susan.
She's a famous actress.
Sorry. Yes, I know her. So acting wise, at some parts it felt cheesy, but again, I don't really care about that. It's a comic book movie. Things are gonna feel cheesy. Like that's fine. That was not an issue. It was implied that they never implied whether she was the older or younger sister of Ted. Again, she's an OC, so I don't know where they wanted to place her.
Yeah.
They did imply that she was working with Ted's father to manage Cord Industries, and then when their father left, he left the industry to Ted instead of Victoria, who had been like his right-hand man or right-hand woman, I guess.
Yeah.
So it disregarded a lot of like comic facts about Ted when they did that. So that was like my gripe with it. And it of course, let me be clear, I don't like Ted's dad either. He was never great to Ted, as seen in Beetle 1986, which I have a why you should read this infographic on my Instagram. So if you need convincing to read it, head to my Instagram. But it made it seem like, through no fault of his own, it made it seem like Ted willingly just like took the company away from Victoria, even though he never wanted Cord Industries in canon. So I didn't love that. That being said, everything they did with the Beetle Cave, everything they did with his weaponry and the bug, 8.
Okay.
8. I was shaking with excitement in the theater the first time I saw
You're not
it.
gonna have anything to talk about when we
I'm so sorry. Dimithri was next to me in the theater, and I had to like audibly cover my mouth to stop myself from screaming in the theater when the bug had the scene with I believe it was Kickstart My Heart was playing, and they were entering on Pago Island.
Yeah.
Masterpiece. All right, I'm done. I've said my part.
Ben, how you doing? How you doing over there?
I think I'm finally situated.
Okay.
I think we're all good. You can see a little more titty from this angle, which is nice. Yeah, I'm giving it to y'all. I'm giving you some.
We gotta charge for that. Come on, if we're gonna do that, we gotta make money off of it.
Deserve it. I've been having so many issues with my internet, and I don't know. I was like, oh I guess it's my laptop needs to update, and then I update my laptop, and it's like, you need to update again. Well, jail.
So all I can say is, Ben, be closer to the microphone.
Ooh, so I'm using my earbuds.
Oh, you are?
If they're not, yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, if it's quiet.
So
I don't know what to tell you if I'm.
Ben, here's a question for you. What were your favorite moments of the movie?
First of all, George Lopez.
Okay.
Yeah, George Lopez. Listen, if George Lopez is in a movie, instant plus 2 stars. Like, because Shark Boy Llama Girl, instant plus 2 stars because George Lopez is in it. Mr. Electric, send that to the principal's office. But he's Jaime's like uncle who is funny, and then he is like kind of like, the king is down. Like, have you ever seen Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee? There's a character that's just like that in that movie. But we see it connected through his grandmother being a revolutionary back in the day. Or his mom, Jaime's grandmother.
Yeah.
His mom being a revolutionary back in the day. I'm like, oh my God, that is such cute, but like also playful world building. Like, I love the relationship with the dad, and then he died. I was not expecting that. Actually, I was like, they ain't gonna kill this man. Like, he's good. They said it out early. It was bold. They said that early. They said he had a heart attack, and he was. I was like, I forgot. I thought it was just like, oh wow, they're really going for like they just didn't want to stress out Jaime, but wasn't more stressful hearing about a heart attack later, and then now there's a lingering health issue, or hearing about it right away, and he could have helped. And then I really liked his relationship with his sister, because I was like, wow, having a sister, that's tea. Like, that's so real, because sisters do just want to make your life hell. derogatory, obviously, because and not like a super negative way, because I actually like my sisters. They're just very silly and very unserious people, and that's what I really appreciate. But then,
They're
no,
like your
like
first
they,
bully,
yeah,
your
yes,
first hater.
yes. Whoa, childhood trauma just hit. And
Um, all I know is like if I was a superhero, my family would know. Like, you know what I mean? Like either they
no, my
would
family
find
wouldn't.
out because I wouldn't be able to hide it, you know, or I would tell them. Either or. But the point being is that like Ben, you're telling me you'd be able to keep that secret from your family?
I'm okay, so I'm a very weird person. So there's some things that I keep
This is
lock
the
and
Ben
key.
lore.
Yeah, I'm you'll know if I need you to know, and I will go to great lengths to make sure people don't know stuff.
Okay. Is your family not
Yeah,
nosy?
no, they are. That's why.
And I'm telling you that you be able to keep that from your family?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
yes,
All right.
yes. Don't know me.
Do you
He
want
said,
to
"I have a secret identity. Don't talk
Yeah.
to me."
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I'm actually Batman. Yeah, yeah. And you know,
Um
George Lopez, I'm not a fascist. I'm actually anti-fascist.
let's talk
So
about
don't do
George
that to me.
Lopez. Let's talk about George Lopez because we got a on Instagram. I was trying to collect, questions, comments, concerns about the movie. Carson 442007, who may or may not be watching this right now, says George Lopez was hilarious, and like that was his comment for the movie. I liked George Lopez a lot. I do think George Lopez can be hit or miss. I am a
And he
fan of
was
George
hitting.
Lopez.
He was
What?
hitting.
Yeah,
He was hitting
He
all
was
those movies.
the
kidding.
reason I thought it was a hit in this movie is because his character had a very specific point of view, and his jokes stem from that. If he was just
Yes.
if he was just an uncle, like, oh, it's George Lopez the uncle, and he didn't have that like very
Yeah,
specific point of view that his character had in this, I think it would have been annoying.
yeah.
Hmm.
I can see what you're saying, but I won't take this George Lopez slander any longer.
I'm not slandering
Because
it. I'm
I
saying
know that.
his jokes are strengthened by a
I'm
point
being
of view because his comedy, like his stand up, is strengthened by his own personal point of view, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say because I know that in the interviews, that they were saying, like the cast was saying, like behind the scenes, George Lopez actually ad-libbed a lot of his lines, and like the way that the cast would react was like their actual reactions because they were like, "Oh my God, George is just going off script. Like, what is he doing?" And he would be making jokes, and people would just respond like, "Oh my God, what is this man saying?" And I think it works really well for him because that's his type of comedy, anyways. And it reminded me a lot of like, um, what was that show like that everyone has the meme of when we were kids that like it woke you up at like 5 a.m.?
the George
George
Lopez
Lopez
show.
show.
Oh, it was the George Lopez show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Yeah. Well, that I think the director mentioned that the line where George Lopez is talking about like the water made what did it do to his
It,
testicles or
um,
whatever? Like, wasn't there a joke like
I
that?
think he was saying it like made them larger or something, like the water was contaminated or something.
And
And
that was all
that was
improv.
ad-libbed.
Yeah.
And then everyone was looking at him like, "Oh my God, what did he just say?" And then I think that was like the clip that they used, probably like the first time they shot it
Yeah.
for the reaction.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Also, Kanji calling out Jaime's little Ray is rising. His Dark Knight was rising. His
uh
Dark Knight was rising, and she did call him out. And honestly, Queen, like, good job,
yeah.
Tanisha. Like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Um I just wanted to throw out a theory. I don't think that Jenny Cord's mom would have been Bea, but
Okay.
what if Bea was her aunt? Like it was just like you just like write a sister that got with Ted, and then the aunt
That
can show
was
up. I think it would be cool to have an Aunt Fire, you know?
in the way that Booster is like in comic continuity, like kind of an uncle,
Yeah.
kind of like they're not related obviously at all, but like all of JLI will like come together and like jump anyone who's like trying to fight Jaime.
Yeah.
Which respect, because like that's their guy. Like that's their little bug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like my critique, if that ended up ever happening where Bea ended up being like Ted's wife slash Jenny's mom,
Yeah.
I was like, there is not only one woman in the population of Brazilian women.
Right.
Please pick another Brazilian woman for this.
Right.
Like, ain't no way.
What how did you guys feel about Jenny Cord as a character in the movie? Being a character that's not in the comics, that's not in the cartoons, like specifically created for this.
She was okay.
Okay.
She was fine. She was a little, you know, a little. How do I say this? A little like, oh, this is just she is our plot convenience character because we're gonna write Ted out of it, but also we need her to be everything. We need her to have all exposition, all this that, and it felt like she was more of a plot device than
Yeah.
a character, and I was like, that's kind of sad because you just add this like really cunty Brazilian woman to this movie, and she's just kind of just there.
She's just kind of there.
I mean, she was a
Yeah.
romantic interest, right?
She
And
was. She literally
exposition,
was
sure.
literally everything the plot needed her to do and be. She was there, which is fine typically, but like they gave her too many hats. I don't think. I think. I don't think the actress had the necessary like skill to wear all the hats. But like overall, she was just inoffensive. She was fine, I guess. But like I would have. In another world, I can see this movie having her and Booster Gold split that role into in another world, but because she's also trying to look, she's also like wondering where her like dad is at. So maybe we could, if James Gunn is a madman, and it's like we could do a sequel and we could bring Booster Gold and then they're gonna find Ted, and then Ted's gonna be like, then I'm just gonna be like, oh, you get your Scarabag, and then he's gonna be like, oh, did you forget? Like, it never bonded with me. It was never. We're not Venom, babe. Like, we aren't Venom. Okay, we know.
Do you guys?
You know?
Do you guys? Do you guys have any ideas of like what you would want to happen to Ted? To have happened? Because me personally, I would have liked for Ted to have been like shunted forward in time, so he's not as old as Susan Sarandon, but he's still. Because I was thinking they were going to do Jason Sudeikis. Like that's who I saw. We didn't see him though.
Okay, so
in the Stinger.
No, so I don't know if that's him.
Yeah.
Allegedly, that might be Booster being like, "Hey, Ted is back. Ted is alive. I have him." First time I'm hearing the theory that Ted could go forward in time.
I'm throwing it out there.
It's an interesting theory. I'm not a hater.
Thank you.
I have no idea what they would do in terms of that, but I believe they left it open and they purposely did not include Booster because they don't have a casting for Booster yet. But I think they wanted to maybe wait and see how Blue Beetle would do and then see how like just generally like the new universe would build up. And if they don't cancel it, I think that would be one of the major plot lines of the Booster Gold TV show, would be Booster recovering Ted with Jaime featuring.
It also,
that being said, no idea what happened to Ted. I'm not a fan of Jason Sudeikis as Ted. I think as an actor he's great, but he's not who I see as Ted. So like, it's a personal thing. Jenny, it was so I've never seen Bruna in anything before.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure if she's acted before. I didn't know her prior to the film. I liked her outfits. I liked her makeup. I thought they styled her and dressed her very well. Stop. I'm trying to do everything. This is the most nitpicky thing ever, but like every time they have a female character in heels during an action scene, I'm always going insane because, okay, now I know that some women can run heels. I know some women can run heels. I am not her. I am not that girl. I'm not that girl. something goes down, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna need you to hold up. I will take off my shoes and run barefoot in the streets. I am not running in those heels. And she had some shoes on during some scenes, and I was like, girly, like it's the same issue I have with the Wonder Woman boots that they gave Gal Gadot, where like her heels had like a little platform wedge, and she's already like tall to my understanding. So like this is just a nitpicky thing on all Superwoman costumes ever.
Yeah.
But furthermore, like Black Widow had the same issues. I never get that. But furthermore, for Jenny,
it's Ben Affleck's fault because why is that man like 6'4"? Like what? Why are you that tall? Like
it's just so that they can in filming.
Yeah, like,
I get it, but whatever.
You're too big. You're straight. The Lakers need
just like
you,
sit
babe.
down. Like sit down a little.
So Bruna,
but
I just looked it up.
For
Bruna
Jenny,
is 5'7" and Gal is 5'10".
Yeah, like I don't think she needed them. Gal was already tall. It just felt ridiculous. Bruna's also tall. Like she's taller than the average woman if she's 5'7".
Yeah.
Regardless,
one. I thought that's crazy.
That's mother.
Okay, so beautiful gowns, but also but also I do think the issue with her character was that they did I think that they wanted to do Booster and studios was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We can't do it. No Booster. So they were like, well, damn. And they maybe had an idea for Booster potentially, but they were like, okay, we're gonna use Jenny. And remember, like Jenny is an OC, like they literally just created her out of nothing. I think for like an intro film, it was fine. I'm not super drawn to like needing to see her again. In terms of a love interest for Jaime, she was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I hated her, but I didn't love her. Like there was nothing that's really drew me to her as a character. Even in any like emotional scenes. I would think that maybe she would feel like one of the things I thought I was slightly confused about is that, okay, so Victoria disliked Ted because the father gave the company to Ted instead of disliking the father that she worked for that passed the company over to her. Like she would have, like maybe he was like, oh, is she crazy? So I'm passing it to Ted. Regardless. Also, Ted never wanted Ted Court Industries in the first place. So read Beetle 1986. Anyways, moving forward. But so Victoria has this like rage over Ted, I guess, because she never got the company in the first place. But he's been missing for so long, and she still has like that kindle of like hate in her heart. So I was kind of like, you think she would have mellowed out? But also, I would have expected. I thought it would have been more interesting if Jenny was more so on like Victoria's side, out of feeling resentment that her dad potentially abandoned her. Because as far as she knows, that's what happened. Like there's no missing persons report. Like it's not Ted Cord is formally missing in the news and like there's been search parties for him.
Right.
As far as she knows, he ghosted. And, you know, maybe she thinks he went to like a Justice League mission and never returned or whatever it is. Whatever the case may be, I thought it would have made it a little more interesting if Jenny was like not evil, but like
I'm glad they did.
You know, like resentful
they
towards
do that a lot, right?
Ted. It would have made sense.
But
no,
they
because
do that a
they
lot
didn't get along.
You know, where it's just like, oh, my dad wasn't there for me, and he missed all my soccer games. And,
no. I don't mean like that. Like I mean like she is supporting Victoria.
Yeah.
Because then that would actually tie it back to how like Ted supported his uncle Jarvis in the original series. And then Jarvis up the whole time was like backstabbing him by using his creations to make like all these like carapaxes essentially on Pagel Island. So I thought it would have been cool if like Jenny was also like, you know, similar to Ted, like she inherits his intelligence, she helps Victoria in the lab and stuff. And like secretly Victoria is using her and like manipulating her and being like, hey, like, let's go make, you know, these weapons. And Jenny has no idea like what's going on. And it's like a, you know, like it repeats in the years. And then she's like, oh my God, like I was resentful towards my father because I thought he abandoned me. But actually, like Victoria's been evil this whole time. Oh my God, I need to team up with Jaime and find that Blue Beetle guy.
Yeah, I wanna ask Ben something about. Do you have faith for Blue Beetle going forward? Like, because James Gunn has said that he's going to be using Blue Beetle, right? That is Blue Beetle. I also think it's interesting that like they. You know, even if we disagree or agree on Nathan, why am I as Guy? What's his name?
Nathan Fillion as Guy.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion as Guy. maybe the JLI has existed and is a little bit older, right? So like, whatever. I don't know. I see a lot of possibilities with this new James Gunn DC universe.
If
Ben,
Ben Affleck was still Batman, that would make sense because Ben Affleck is Batman was like 105. So that would make sense if he like in the Justice League movie he was like, I gotta form a new team because my first team has disbanded and Ted has disappeared and Booster went back home and Guy's an asshole. That would be interesting, but that would have required a lot of planning and foresight, and clearly DC and Star Wars can't do that.
I think I can
Anywho,
just solve all of this. Just do the Booster Gold series and set it in the past. So all the actors are young, and then JLI is like a historic show. I would like it like set in the 80s, like in the Booster Gold TV show, and it'll be like flash forwarding to like the future, like time
it
skips
could be
and
like
stuff.
sitcom-y.
I have a theory
That's exactly what I want.
I have a theory that the new DC universe isn't gonna be one timeline. That it's going to have a couple different points in time. Because if you're having a Batman with Damian in Batman Brave and the Bold,
it's my little
what
2 cents.
That
was like insane to start off with Damian. Like that's my little 2 cents.
I think that they're gonna be shifting, like, and Superman Legacy is about like maybe the start of Superman. I'm not quite sure. No, it's not like the start. But the point being,
it's not the start.
Yeah, it's not the start. But the point being is like they might be jumping around a little. I don't know.
I wonder how they're going to explain this to general audiences, because general audiences already don't understand. Well, first of all, general audiences didn't watch Flash, but like we can tell from the return
the Flash
on like
is
ticket
the
sales.
worst movie of 2020.
But like they all said that like hate of the movie aside, one of the things the Flash was supposed to do for the future of the DC universe was that it was supposed to reset the timeline. First of all, I saw that movie. I saw that movie one time. I didn't feel, as someone who went in knowing it was going to reset the timeline, I didn't feel like there was any resetting of the timeline, number one. Number two, it was not explained. They need to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, okay? Because that is the only way general audiences are going to be like, okay, we get this. The timeline was re-explained, which is why I think it's so intelligent when, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, when like Spider-Verse is like, okay, let's do this again, and then they run through the whole character animation. Like, it doesn't matter that there are comic super fans who know all of that stuff. Like most people who are watching the movie, general audiences don't know that. We're gonna run through it, okay? And I love that they do that. DC needs to fucking get on that. Number two, I think Blue Beetle might be in cameos in the future. I do not believe they will greenlight Blue Beetle 2. I say this as a Jaime fan.
Fair enough.
I think they could do it.
I say this as a Jaime fan. I think he might be featured, not just necessarily as cameos, like he might be in the Booster Gold TV show. He might show up in like actual cameos. I don't know what he would show up in for a team up because he's like the only teams he's been part of like weren't iconic for him to be in that like team member setting beyond like JLI coming together post like Max coming back to life and everything. But like they won't do Blackest Night, like like so. His best chance of like constant featuring is the Booster Gold TV show, in my opinion, because he's not an iconic like role on Teen Titans or like Young Justice. So, in fact, he was never in comics Young Justice.
Yeah.
So, like,
Ben, you got thoughts?
What was the question?
Like, do you think?
What do you think Blue Beetle's future?
Yeah. What
live
do you
action?
think his future is? That are we gonna get a Blue Beetle too?
No, we're not gonna get Blue Beetle too.
Okay. I hold on to a little bit of hope that for representation purposes, that James Gunn might push Blue Beetle forward.
You're really cute, Dimithri. I really love that you have hope.
Okay.
Anyway, they've cast like 2 Latinos in that movie, and they were like, and Zaz's gonna be like, that's enough. He's like, we're good. What's the difference between
He has hired a lot more Latino actors, I will say, compared to like literally even Marvel, who has like 0 Latinos. Like,
no,
like Namor was just like the first. Like, come on, like
literally. And he's casting them. We're getting cast accurate Latinos. We're not having an America Chavez situation, and I'm still gonna be hurt by that. Anywho, I think Blue Beetle. I think Michelle is right. I think Miss Bug is right. I think Jaime is probably just gonna pop up in Booster Gold's show. But I think they're probably gonna do like a Hannah Montana Forever type thing where the first season will be Booster Gold, and then Jaime comes in like a few episodes in, and then the next season will be like Blue and Gold because like
Yeah.
throw them in there, right? Jolo has the sauce to be like a big star because he's young, he's handsome, and he's charismatic. Boom, boom, boom. Like if he wanted to do drama, he could be the Mexican Timothy Chalamet. You know, Timothy Chalamet.
Let's
Sorry,
not compare. I'm not a big fan of Timothy Chalamet, so like
no, I'm not either. But I can't
Zolo
say
could
he's
do
not
way
putting
more
out.
than Timothy.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm not a big fan, but also he's putting out hits. He's bringing in numbers, so I can't ignore the facts.
He's bringing in
Maybe
numbers.
don't.
Yeah,
He's
maybe
bringing in
not as
numbers.
Willy
He's putting out
Wonka.
hits.
I
No,
don't know
I don't
why.
think it's Willy Wonka, but listen, Twinkle Chalamet, Twinkle charcuterie board puts butts in seats. So, there's gonna at least be 300 mil off Wonka. I'm not sorry, that's probably what's gonna happen. Especially because we're moving into this era where because we've had so many okay and all right superhero movies, they're just clamoring for IP. They're like, they don't even care about superheroes anymore. They're just clamoring for IP. And like the movies that are gonna be safe, obviously, are always gonna be Batman. It's always gonna be
Superman will be
probably.
fine.
Superman
Man of
Legacy is
Steel,
gonna be
Superman
like
Legacy will be
crazy.
fine.
And then obviously Spider-Man, and then Black Panther, and because Black Panther has become one of those series that's like, this is our elite franchise, and we're gonna shoot it for the Oscars. So it's like the one where like the film bros and the general audience, oh ow, let me not Italian hand. The film bros and the general audience could be like yes and yes. Blue Beetle didn't have that going for it, and that's again why I said like 5-6 years ago, because had it released then where people weren't experiencing this like because overall the movie is technically speaking okay, right? It's very clearly a streaming movie that was taken and made into a theatrical movie.
You think
but
that?
It was a good streaming, huh?
You think that this movie, this I think is a bigger thing to jump into. You think this movie was made for streaming and then brought to theaters?
Think that is literally what happened. It was made for streaming on a $90 million budget.
I think it originally was considered to be streaming, but I think but at the point of filming, they were filming to do theatrical.
No. They were no. HBO Max had this little initiative. That's why Batgirl got canceled. HBO Max had this initiative where they were going to do small to mid budget movies on streaming, and Batgirl was going to be streaming, and so was Blue Beetle.
Right.
And then partway through Blue Beetle, they were like, "Okay, actually, we're going to put you in theaters." And it was like towards the end of the movie being like made in production, and then they were like, "Okay, hell yeah!" But then I'm guessing they bumped up the marketing budget 3 cents because it had the same marketing budget had it been streaming, which still blows me because there's a warehouse somewhere that had a bunch of Batgirl merch because they still make merch for the streaming movies. Like the Suicide Squad movie was made theatrically, released on streaming. It still had merch. It still had stuff. Was it a theatrical success? No, but it also came out during the pandemic Lovato, so it wasn't going to. But Blue Beetle was a part of that streaming initiative because of the pandemic Lovato, right? So when Warner Brothers was like, actually, we're putting this in theaters, and it got it had the reverse Turning Red, because Turning Red was made for theaters and then put on streaming, which I was working at a theater at the time, and seeing that little standee get taken down, that's what happened. It was so sad. I saw it was moved to the front because you were like, Turning Red, and then it was put it away. But Blue Beetle has like a layer of like fun in it that does not exist. I'm so sorry to say this, but does not exist in a lot of superhero movies that are theatrical. Like it has the vibe of a movie that was made to stream because a lot of the stuff that they've been putting on streaming is a little bit more culturally centered. It's a little bit more like family based, and it's like I said, Turning Red, big streaming hit, and Encanto, big streaming hit. Miss Marvel streaming hit, or actually no, it had low reviews, but it was a critical darling, which I think that's probably still Marvel's best show.
It got to focus on very culturally significant things.
Yeah, and that's where you can tell that's where the streaming bit goes. But then, like I said, they bumped that budget up like 10 cents, and we're like, put it in the movie theaters. and they forgot to market it to Mexicans in Mexico and other
No,
Latinos
literally.
worldwide, because literally this could have been Spy Kids of the new generation. Like Spy Kids doesn't even have like any actual Latinos in it besides Carmen. But we still rise to that movie because Robert Rodriguez made a fire movie. Like that's the truth. So that was all I have to say. Blue Beetle, like Michelle said, is probably just gonna pop up in like co-starring roles in a lot of stuff because they want to keep Jolo because Jolo kind of has it going for him. Like he's got it.
I mean,
Got
Cobra
the
Kai was
sauce.
huge for him.
Yeah, that's how we got Blue Beetle.
Of course.
That's how we
I
got Blue
think
Beetle.
once Sholo's career has like more like even more under his belt, which like he's obviously going to have, they will feature him in cameos more often, assuming he can like allow for it. That being said, how do you fail to market a Mexican live action hero in Mexico City?
Well, here's actually
Because
I'm
because they sure shored up for Wakanda Forever.
Like there were Wakanda Forever. When I was in Mexico City, I saw a bunch of Wakanda Forever advertisements.
Oh yeah,
it was actually really interesting. Actually, sorry, this is a side note. Some of them were in English and they said Wakanda Forever. But they like everything else was like in Spanish, like a little blurb in the bottom and stuff. But then the other ones, depending on like where you went in Mexico City, it was Wakanda por siempre, like literally Wakanda forever. But they kept it like fully in Spanish. So I thought that was interesting.
I mean,
But not
Marvel
a single
also
Beetle
has
poster.
a
I
huge
asked my
budget.
entire family.
Marvel has a huge marketing budget, right? And they
I
allot.
asked my entire family, I said, if you see a single Blue Beetle advertisement in Mexico City, I want you to stop, pull over. We're in multiple cities in Mexico, so we're across 3 different states in Mexico. I said, and two of them are major cities. So I was like, if you see a single Blue Beetle advertisement, I want you to stop and take a photo and send it to me. I did not get a single text. I have hella family members in Mexico. I didn't get a single text.
Yeah. He doesn't have. I mean, as far as I know, he doesn't. So Sholo doesn't have anything like lined up right now.
Well, I mean, he would if they marketed Blue Beetle, but
I mean, also
I mean,
they can't like announce stuff until like just like a few like with the strike
that's
just
also
ended.
true. Yeah,
You know,
unless it was like completed. Yeah,
that's true. That's
but
true.
like it could be in deals. You know,
yeah,
in negotiations or whatever.
Right.
yeah, legit. Once that strike started, he was radio silent, so he probably was being a good little SAG member.
I mean, it's just Cobra Kai, I think, because that's ending soon. I think it's one final season, right?
I don't know. I've never seen Cobra Kai.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen
I've
it.
never seen it.
Yeah, so I think it's one final season of Cobra Kai. He is the main character of Cobra Kai.
He
like,
is?
Yeah. Like, as for, the kids in Cobra Kai, yes. Like,
I didn't realize how young he was. I thought we were the same age. That boy is a baby. I truly thought Zolo was like 25. No, Zolo's like what, 21 or 2? Like,
he's 22.
Yeah, he's
like,
a little Gen Z baby.
Yeah.
Like, my
he's also
struggling.
rapping now. He has like music
I
stuff
saw.
he's working on, but that's probably during the strike.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that.
I haven't really heard his stuff, but the point being is, I think that if Jolo became huge, I'm talking like huge as an actor, that they would greenlight a Blue Beetle too, just on his name alone. You know, if he, we've seen that with other actors that broke big later, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I still have hopes that Blue Beetle will become a cult classic. Like I think it would happen. It has a lot of heart. It was like very sincere in what it tried to do. They like went for it. I respect them for that greatly. And furthermore, now that it's on streaming, other people will see it, especially people who never saw it in the first place and they were like vaguely curious or just even bored to be like, oh, let me watch it.
Right.
And then they'll fall in love with Jaime and period. Like we've been you.
Yeah.
Also,
so that's my hope is that it will be a cult classic.
Yeah.
Yes, that suit is gas. And then also to my point earlier about being streaming, the suit is practical. If it was not streaming, it would have all been CGI, and that is probably the truth.
Interesting.
That suit is practical. It is tangible. It is real. Like he was on
I know
set
Angel was saying that he wanted a practical suit the whole time. Actually, I have a friend who worked in VFX for the movie. And And he was telling me that like the editing for it was like super great. Like they treated them respectfully the whole time. They were not overworked, nothing like this. And so my friend, he worked in the water scene, like where Jaime is getting his suit and then is kind of like in the water, like as he's getting hit. And then when the bug is putting its like pincers in the ground, those specific things is what I can remember off the top of my head is what my friend worked in. But yeah, he was like, we had a great time in the movie, and they always wanted to stress that like they wanted the suit to look. I mean, they did CG parts of the suit, like the pincers. These ones that go forward are fully CG. They're not on the live. If you've seen the practical suit, which again, no worries. Like it looks great regardless. But they were always told like, hey, like we want it to be as like realistic looking as possible. And I actually think they did a great job with the CG.
They did. I think so too. I think
it was like the perfect amount. The ratio was perfect of like practical to CG.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think when I was watching it in theaters and like realizing how good the CGI looked, when I remembered that the suit was practical, so you have all those on set like photos and references and lighting references that just exist because he was on set actually doing everything. And then I was like, wow, this is visually eating up a lot of movies from
even from this year from DC alone. Like
oh my god.
That's all I have to say about that.
Wait, what?
Oh, I mean, there was a little movie.
Remember that little comment that was like, "Yeah, the CG looks bad because it's supposed to look bad." That's all I have to say.
Oh,
that's all I have to say.
I mean, we could talk about the Flash. Them saying that the CG is so bad in the Flash, it's unfinished. I will not stop slandering the Flash movie. I love the Flash. I'm a big fan of the character.
Why did we name the movie The Flash when he wasn't even the main character in his own movie? Like,
oh yeah. Also, yeah. Also, it's such a slap in the face.
At this point, Barry is done for. Like, just kill him and bring in Wally. Like,
I mean,
he's done for. I'm so sorry.
I don't even like Barry as a character. Like Barry as a character, he is the stepping stone for Wally. So you could have had much more. Okay, no, this is not a Flash. This is not a Flash podcast. We're bringing it back to Jaime.
Avery's not here. Like...
Yeah, right. So as we wrap this episode up, I want to know if you guys had any final thoughts about this movie, and you know, yeah.
I just want to say,
dreams, anything that you didn't talk about.
I think this movie deserves so much more. I already made my video on it. It deserved so much more. It deserves like all the accolades, all the love, all the fun. Because like, okay, yes, the plot generic, whatever. But if a generic plot has heart and soul and culture, and like you can just tell, you can feel the love from when you can feel the love of a movie that was made in the movie, you can feel like the actual passion for like the work that everyone was doing in the movie, which you do feel in this movie. It makes the movie more enjoyable. So the fact that you could tell everyone was just on their tens, like was on 10 making this movie, like working hard. I know Jolo was like, son guy, go away. I'm gonna do these kicks. I'm gonna do these flips. I'm gonna punch. Like I'll do it. Like you don't stab me. Like you can tell the directors, the writers, everyone actually liked. Like if this was in the hands of somebody else, they probably would have just called the Beetle. Like they wouldn't have even called it Kaji Da. Like there's certain people that just don't have the reverence for this material, and you can tell the people who made this movie did, and you can tell that the actors had a good time. You can tell everyone like actually cared about this movie that they were making. So what if that creates a generic plot? Most stories are generic plots, babe. It's just how you tell the story that makes it unique, and I feel like they did that. I feel like they did it well, and I am hoping that, like Michelle has said, it was a cult classic because it deserves it.
Thank you, Ben.
Agree with everything that was just said. Like, period. Hopes for it to become a cult classic. I hope more people will give it a shot, especially now that it's on streaming. So if you have, HBO Max, it's just free and available to watch. Even people who maybe didn't like it the first time, maybe they give it a second chance. So fingers crossed, more people will like it and fall in love with the movie, especially now that, after the strike is over, the actors and actresses who are in it can actually post about the movie and post about their work. Definitely 100% agree with Ben about how you can really tell that this movie was made with a lot of love.
Yeah.
And that they were so careful with like how they did everything. Like everything felt like it was coming like straight from their heart. They were like, we are so strict on, I'm sure they were strict as hell behind the scenes of like, no, we're not gonna like, make this movie not what it's supposed to be, etc., so on and so forth. And given that like I know that they read Ted's original series, they read Jaime's original series, and that they also consulted with like Jaime's creators. And of course they I hope they would have paid them appropriately. That's my little side comment there. But given all of that, I feel like they did put a lot of care and attention into Jaime. And even though it wasn't obviously like 100% comic accurate, which it's never going to be, it carried the spirit of the Blue Beetle. And I adore it for that. And it's just going to always be in my frequently watched list. My last comment is that like I felt so insanely represented watching that movie. It was like one of the first times in my life that I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what the heck? Like, it like to the point where I was like, did they like put a camera into like my family's home setting? Like,
They did,
especially
and
when
they
they're all
didn't put
arguing with each
subtitles
other.
on all the Spanish stuff. They didn't put subtitles on all the Spanish stuff.
No,
That
and
was a
I
little
really
more
respected
IP.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That was very iconic of them. I really respected that. For the second time I went to watch the movie, I went with two friends of mine who are not Spanish speakers, and they were seated next to me. And during the movie, at one point, it was just like random family chatter, and they were like, my friends kind of leaned in and they were asking me to like translate for them, just so like they didn't miss any details. And I was just like, this was such a cute little film, like that's our bug, like that's the Blue Beetle. Yeah. Final thoughts.
I think this movie couldn't have coming out at the moment that it came out was both great and not great. I don't think this movie could have been made 5 years ago, and I don't think that like if they had waited a couple months, it would have been even better off as far as the release is concerned. Maybe.
That's true.
But like if it was coming out now, right now is a good lull. If it came out now, I thought like I don't know, I could have dominated November, could have dominated October.
I assume they would have thought that the Marvels would have carried financially, but
that's
I digress.
But then they're also dealing with Aquaman coming out in December. But I definitely think that this movie is a good movie as long as you just watch it. And now that it's on streaming, I hope that like it picks up as far as that's concerned. There were a couple comments on Instagram. EJ Culture says, I really enjoyed it, which is amazing. And then Alec Belante says, lots of cheesy and hand-fed dialogue, but lots of great moments and characters. And I think that, like, there's going to be things that you like or dislike in this movie, but, like, the characters carried.
Yes. That family, that grandma.
That family dynamic.
That's the go. Grandma Rand, come on. That's my sister. That's my sister in arms. Love her.
I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I had a lot of hope that it would be good, and it was good enough that I wanted to see it a second time and take my mom. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. I'm happy that we're able to talk about this.
Me too.
Yeah.
I am sad. I think I'm glad everyone is hopefully gonna get paid now. Due to the strikes, but it does suck that due to the media silence during the strike to stand in solidarity, we couldn't talk about some like really important cultural movies, which this movie was.
Yeah.
But again, it was just another thing where it's like this sacrifice had to be made because people wasn't getting paid. So hopefully you guys go stream the movie so now everyone can get their money. Okay, let's make sure these people got their money because they made a good movie and they deserve to know they made a good movie and they deserve to be paid for the fact that they made a good movie and a bunch of people are coming that way. So go watch Blue Beetle, like go stream Blue Beetle. Stream it. Like, listen, I need BTS Army to get on it because they can do streaming organizing parties. Do that for Blue Beetle, please. Like, I need like B or Jungkook or somebody to be like, actually, Blue Beetle's my favorite movie, because then they'll all watch it.
Yeah.
Like, please, God, please go watch this movie. It deserves so much more. It deserves so much more.
Yeah.
But if you, but my last thing is words for wise. If you're casting a superhero movie and you put Becky G in it for some reason, that does not equal box office for some reason. Even though she's one of the biggest Latina stars that has ever existed. So if you are ready to have a cult classic movie, cast Becky G in your superhero movie. Otherwise,
if you want your superhero movie to not do well in theaters, but like 5 years from now, people on TikTok are gonna be like, "Why didn't that movie get a sequel?" Then cast Becky G.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Which, yeah.
By the way, I just wanted to say that the actor who played Carapax was very menacing. I think that his character was, just a generic supervillain with the same, like the palette swap kind of thing. But the backstory that happened at the end, I thought really worked.
You know what? Actually, I thought I didn't have more to say. I did have more to say because I actually hate when you have somebody who's so wretched and so evil for a good majority of your story, and then you're like, actually, they like went through some things. Okay, I don't care. Like, you've been terrible this whole time, and now you gonna switch up on me. This is like how I felt. I was watching Real Housewives, and now Marlo is giving her sound story. I don't care, Marlo, and I don't care, Carapax. Susan surround sound. I
don't think it was meant to excuse his actions or explain his actions. I think I think he knew that he was like guilty because at the end of the movie he like sacrifices himself kind of thing. But I think it was just like one of those, like, to use that ridiculous phrase from like, I don't even know, like 2012 like swag Tumblr of like hurt people or something like.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were going for, and I think they just wanted like more historical context for like and like world building stuff in the film.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I didn't hate it. It was a new
A
addition.
he's a mercenary.
He like remains the villain.
Yeah,
he was, but they could have done some more work with him and Susan surround sound to make sure that it didn't just come out of nowhere, because they like not implied. She was pretty explicitly anti Latino the whole time. But they didn't do enough developing on that relationship to make it so when he has his little come to Jesus moment, you feel bad for him. He has it, and then I'm like, okay, whatever that means. It's getting weird. Like what?
Him for Papa Reyes. So I was like,
yeah, just go blow up with Thelma and Louise, child. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, now I said my piece.
Right. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on this episode. I want to thank you also for however many episodes ago when we came and talked about comic book Jaime Reyes. We talked then and we talk now, and it's always great to have both of you on this show. Everybody here has things to say. And it's amazing to be able to kind of get together and be able to talk about this, because right now 3 of us are in all different places, and the fact that we kind of come together and
in here right now.
What'd you say?
Now, go ahead.
Oh, I said we had all we have East Coast, West Coast, and like Central Standard Time all up in here.
Yes. Hopefully, we'll all be in the same place April 28th through 30th.
I'm planning on going to C2E2 in Chicago if Michelle wants to come.
I did look up tickets.
What?
Woo.
Okay. We'll see.
One of my besties has an apartment there, so I could just stay with her for free. I'm gonna sleep on her floor.
That could work.
Listen, it could be a good time, and I won't have that same situation I had last time where
we'll talk after the show. Thank you both of you so much for coming on the show. Thank you to anybody out there who's watching and or listening. You're watching us live. You're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. If you're listening to us on our podcast, it's wherever you get your podcast from. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you're on social media, TikTok and Instagram are our two biggest ones, at The Keeg Show. But we're also on like Threads and Facebook and Twitter and all that, at The Keeg Show/The Keeg Show. Wherever you are on social media, we are also there. Patreon.com/The Keeg Show if you want to give back to the Keeg. This is the Keeg Talks. We also got Comic Talk every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about each given week's new comic book releases. DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Indie Comics. We talk about it all. This is the Keeg Talks Blue Beetle. We also got some other movies that are coming out soon. Hopefully we'll do a Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, the new Hunger Games movie. We should be doing a podcast episode on that real soon. Other than that, real quick, Michelle, where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Okay, hi. Michelle. I'm at Blue Beetles Bug on Instagram. I already have it open, so if you wanted to have more Jaime reading lists for comics, I have like a little infographic there. And then I have my much better one that I spent far more time on because I was procrastinating studying for midterms when I wrote this one. So this is my little why you should read Blue Beetle 1986. And I have like a whole, I went back to my Instagram. I have like a whole little news infographic on that. And then you're welcome to read that. If you want to skim DC Wiki for Secret Entries #2, I updated the wiki because that wasn't there either. I will have more.
That's awesome.
I eventually will do a TED reading list as well. I have my Jaime reading list. I don't know, more random Beetle cosplay stuff. TBD.
All right, sounds good. Blue Beetle's Bug. All right. Ben, you know the drill.
So I'm BT Artist on everything. If you can notice, I did my profile picture. I have the Santa hats. Yes, I'm a Christmas guy through and through. I love me some Christmas. Listen, when Mariah starts unthawing, that's when I start unthawing too. We're synced up in that way. Do I have Christmas content planned? No. I just do wherever the wind takes me. But right now, what's in the drafts right now? I have some videos. I have a video talking about the Netflix Avatar in the works. It's drafted up. I'm talking about Batman per usual. It's my usual, my guy, my goats. Maybe have too much content of him. Maybe I don't. But that's what I plan on doing. I'm gonna try and make some more fun, silly, unhinged stuff. I haven't had a really unhinged video in a while. The current one that's doing well is somewhat unhinged, slightly hinged. Like the door is halfway off the hinges.
Okay.
But if you've heard the Terry joke, sure. And that was just a hyperfixation of mine. So I had to like make the video about it. And Spider-Man. So, if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It's doing well. Gets me paid, gets me money,
Okay.
We talked about getting paid a lot. By we, I mean me. But yeah, go stream Blue Beetle. Go support doing like whatever, because why not? Like we're great, we're a great group of people. Like, think about it, so go watch Blue Beetle. Go watch it a million times. BTS Army, it's Jungkook's favorite movie, so go watch Blue Beetle. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for coming on here. Thank you to everybody out there. Thank you to you two as well. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this bit has been the Keeg Talks Blue Beetle. Take care, everybody. Say bye to everybody out there.
Peace.
All right, see you guys later.